Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra's Pride, watching the stars stream past through the main window. His ship was one of the newest in the human fleet, built for exploring space and meeting new alien friends. Jake had been captain for 3 years now, and he loved his job. Today felt like any other day until Lisa Chang spoke up from her station. "Captain, I'm getting a strange signal," Lisa said, her fingers dancing over the communication controls. She was the best communications officer in the fleet, and Jake trusted her completely. "It's coming from the mining colony on Kepler 442b. Jake walked over to her station. The colony was supposed to be a peaceful place where humans mined rare metals and raised their families. His own daughter Katie was there right now, visiting as part of a school trip to learn about space mining. "What kind of signal, Lisa?" "It's a distress beacon, sir, but it's weak and broken up. I can barely make out the words." Lisa's face looked worried as she adjusted her equipment. The last clear message was 3 days ago. Since then, nothing but static and these broken signals. Jake felt his stomach drop. 3 days was too long for a communication blackout. "Ryan, get your security team ready. We're changing course. For Kepler 442b right now." Ryan Kelly was the chief security officer, a big man who had served in the military before joining the exploration service. He nodded and started giving orders to his team. "You heard the captain. Full combat gear, but remember, we're going to help people, not start a fight." Dr. Amanda Foster looked up from her science station. She was young but very smart, and she knew more about aliens than almost anyone. "Captain, should I prepare medical supplies? If there's been an accident at the colony..." "Do it," Jake said. "Lisa, try to contact any ships in the area. See if anyone knows what happened." The Terra's Pride changed course and jumped to faster than light speed. The journey to Kepler 442b would take 6 hours. Jake spent that time pacing the bridge and thinking about Katie. She was only 14 years old, bright and curious about everything in space. She had been so excited about the trip to see how humans lived and worked so far from Earth. When they arrived at the Kepler system, Jake knew something was very wrong. The space around the planet was empty. Usually, there were cargo ships moving back and forth, bringing supplies and taking away the metals the colony mined. Today, there was nothing. "Take us down to the colony," Jake ordered. His hands were shaking a little, but he tried to stay calm for his crew. The colony looked wrong from the air. The buildings were still there, but no lights were on. No people were walking around. The landing pads where ships usually sat were empty except for 2 damaged cargo vessels that looked like they had been attacked. "Landing party, suit up," Ryan announced over the ship's speakers. "Unknown situation on the ground. Everyone stays together." Jake, Ryan, Amanda, and 4 security officers took a shuttle down to the colony's main building. When they stepped outside, the silence was terrible. This place should have been full of sounds. People talking, machines working, children playing. Instead, there was nothing but the wind. The main building's door was broken. Inside, furniture was knocked over and there were scorch marks on the walls. Amanda pulled out a small device that could detect what kind of weapons had been used. "These burns are from plasma weapons," she said quietly. "Not human weapons. Alien weapons." They moved through the building carefully. In the main office, they found the colony's computer system. Most of it was destroyed, but Lisa had taught Ryan how to get information from damaged computers. After an hour of work, he managed to recover some files. "Captain, you need to see this," Ryan said, his voice tight with anger. The files showed what had happened. 3 days ago, alien ships had appeared in the sky. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Collective. They had demanded that the humans surrender, but the colonists had tried to fight back. The aliens had been too strong. But the worst part was in the security camera recordings that Ryan managed to fix. The recordings showed the aliens taking people prisoner. Most of the adults had been left behind, hurt but alive. But the aliens had taken all the children. All of them. 23 kids, Ryan said, reading from the files. Ages 4 to 16. They took them all. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. Katie was one of those 23 children. His little girl was somewhere out there, taken by aliens he had never heard of before. Amanda was studying the alien weapons and equipment left behind. "Captain, I've never seen technology like this before. The Zephyrians aren't in any of our databases. They're completely unknown to us." "But why would they take children?" Lisa asked over the radio from the ship. "What do they want with human kids?" Amanda's face was pale as she looked at her readings. "I don't know, but some of this equipment looks like it's designed for studying living things. Medical equipment, but not for healing, for researching." The truth hit Jake like a cold wave. These aliens had taken human children to study them like animals in a laboratory. His daughter and 22 other kids were somewhere in space, probably scared and alone in the hands of creatures who saw them as things to experiment on. "Get me a connection to Earth immediately," Jake ordered, his voice hard with anger. "Admiral Wells needs to know about this right now." "Captain," Ryan said quietly, "the trail is already 3 days old. Every hour we wait, those ships get farther away." Jake looked around at his crew. These people had families too. Some of them had children on other colonies. They all understood what this meant. "Signal the ship. We're going after them." "Sir, shouldn't we wait for orders from Earth?" one of the security officers asked. Jake thought about Katie, probably crying and wondering why her father wasn't coming to save her. He thought about 22 other children who were counting on adults to protect them. "No, we're not waiting." "Ryan, can you track their ships?" The aliens weren't careful about hiding their trail. Their ships left energy signatures I can follow, at least for a while. "Then we follow them now," Jake said. "Amanda, send everything we learned to Earth, but we're not waiting for permission. Those are human children out there." As they returned to the Terra's Pride, Jake looked back at the empty colony one last time. Somewhere in the vastness of space, aliens who thought they were superior to humans had made a terrible mistake. They had taken human children. Soon, they would learn why. That was the worst thing they could have done. The message from Jake Morrison reached Earth 12 hours later. Admiral Patricia Wells was drinking her morning coffee when her assistant burst into her office with the emergency report. Patricia had been in charge of the Terran Defense Force for 8 years, and she had never seen anything like this. 23 children, she said aloud, reading the report again. They took 23 human children. Within an hour, every important person in the human government was in an emergency meeting. President Coleman looked tired as he listened to the reports. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" Marcus Gray, humanity's top diplomat, shook his Tidusa head. "Nothing, sir. They're not part of the Galactic Council. We've never had contact with them before. I'm trying to open communication channels now, but it's difficult when we don't know where they are." "Admiral Wells, what are our military options?" the president asked. Patricia stood up and activated a star map. "I'm mobilizing the 5th Fleet. Immediately. 60 ships, including our best battleships, but sir, space is very big. Without knowing where the Zephyrians went, we could search for years." "What about Captain Morrison? Where is he now?" "He's following the alien ship's trail. His communications officer sent us the tracking data, but he's gone silent since then. I think he's maintaining radio silence so the aliens can't detect him." "Lily." President rubbed his forehead. 60 human children are missing, and we don't even know who took them or why. Far out in space, Jake Morrison was asking himself the same questions. The Terra's Pride had been following the Zephyrian ship's energy trail for 2 days. Ryan Kelly was working with the ship's computer to track the aliens, while Amanda Foster tried to learn everything she could about their technology. "Captain, I'm picking up another ship," announced Tony Rodriguez from the pilot's seat. Tony was the best pilot Jake had ever worked with, and he could fly through an asteroid field blindfolded. "It's human, but it's not answering our signals." A sleek black ship appeared on their screens. Jake had seen ships like this before. It was a stealth frigate designed for secret missions. "This is Captain Morrison of the Terra's Pride. Identify yourself." "This is Captain Sam Torres of the Silent Hunter," came the reply. Sam's voice was calm and cold. "I assume you're following the same trail I am." Jake knew about Sam Torres. The man was famous in the fleet for taking on dangerous missions that other captains couldn't handle. You're hunting the Zephyrians too? They made a mistake 6 months ago. Attacked a research station where my brother was working, killed everyone on board. Sam's voice got harder. I've been tracking them ever since. Now they've given me a reason to make it official. Can your ship keep up with mine? Jake asked. Captain Morrison, my ship can do things yours can't even imagine. Let's go get those kids. On the Zephyrian. Research Station Dominion's Edge, the human children were learning that their situation was worse than they had imagined. The station was huge, floating in empty space far from any planet. The aliens had put all 23 children in a large room with sleeping areas and basic furniture, but the door was locked and guarded. Alex Carter, 12 years old and taller than most kids his age, had become the group's leader. He was smart and calm, and the other children listened to him. We need to stay together, he told them during their second day on the station. We need to take care of each other. Little Emma Clark, only 6 years old, was crying again. She missed her parents and didn't understand why the scary aliens had taken her away from home. Alex sat next to her and held her hand. It's okay, Emma. Our parents are coming for us. Human adults always come for their kids. Katie Morrison, Jake's daughter, was trying to stay brave, but she was scared too. Alex, what do they want with us? Why did they take us? Before Alex could answer, the door opened and 2 Zephyrian guards entered. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They wore white uniforms and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Behind them came Vorthak, the Enlightened, the station's head scientist. Vorthak looked at the children like they were interesting animals in a zoo. Fascinating, he said in perfect English. The young humans show strong social bonding behaviors, much stronger than adult specimens we have studied. We're not specimens, Alex said, standing up. We're people, human people, and our families are going to come for us. Vorthak made a sound that might have been laughter. Your species is primitive and emotional. Your attachment to offspring is a weakness that superior beings like us have evolved beyond. Your families will forget you in time. You don't know humans very well, Katie said, her voice shaking but determined. My father is Captain Jake Morrison, and he never gives up. None of our parents will give up. Your father is one being with one small ship. We are the Zephyrian Collective, masters of this sector of space. Your kind cannot challenge us. Vorthak turned to his guards. Begin the first round of testing tomorrow. Start with the smallest specimens. After the aliens left, Emma started crying harder. Alex picked her up and held her tight. Listen to me, all of you, he said to the other children. They think we're weak because we care about each other. They think that makes us easy to control, but they're wrong. What do you mean? Asked Nick Adams, who was 15 and one of the older kids. I mean, we use what they think is weakness as our strength. We stick together. We help each other. We don't let them break us apart. Alex looked around at all the frightened faces. And we find a way to help our parents find us. Maya Johnson, 14 years old and very good with electronics, spoke up. I saw some kind of computer tablet in that pile of stuff they gave us. It's supposed to be for educational games, but maybe I can make it do other things. Like what? Alex asked. Like send a message. If I can figure out how their systems work, maybe I can get a signal out. Let someone know where we are. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the news about the kidnapped children was spreading across human space. Every news station was talking about it. Every human colony was demanding action. Admiral Wells had never seen anything like the response that was building. Ma'am, we're getting calls from every human world, reported her communications officer. People are volunteering for military service. Corporate shipping fleets are asking to be armed. Even civilian freighter captains want to help search for the children. Patricia nodded grimly. How many ships can we put together? If we include corporate and civilian vessels, maybe 300 ships, Admiral, but most of them aren't warships. It doesn't matter. Get them organized and get them armed with whatever we have. Those aliens picked the wrong species to mess with. Marcus Gray finally managed to contact the Zephyrian government through diplomatic channels. The conversation was brief and chilling. The Zephyrian Supreme Commander Zektar spoke to him through a communications relay. "We have taken specimens of your young for scientific research," Zektar said in a bored voice. "This is standard procedure for studying primitive species. Your emotional reaction is exactly why your kind will never advance beyond your current, limited state." Marcus felt his hands shaking with anger. "Those are children, human children. They have families who love them. You have to return them immediately." "We do not have to do anything. Your species' attachment to offspring is a biological weakness. Superior beings like ourselves have moved beyond such primitive emotional responses. The specimens will be well cared for during our research." "Research? What kind of research?" "We study how primitive minds develop, how emotional attachments form, how social hierarchies establish themselves among the young. Your specimens are perfect examples of an undeveloped species." Marcus ended the communication and immediately called Admiral Wells. "Patricia, they're not going to give the children back. They think we're just emotional primitives and they're studying our kids like lab animals." Patricia Wells had been a soldier for 30 years. She had fought in 3 wars and commanded fleets in battles across the galaxy. But she had never felt anger like this before. "Marcus, send a message to every human world, every human ship, every human colony. Tell them what the Zephyrians said. Tell them what they're doing to our children." "What should I tell them to do?" Patricia looked out her office window at the ships already gathering in Earth's orbit. More were arriving every hour. "Tell them to get ready for war." The Galactic Council had never seen anything like the emergency session that Ambassador Helen Price called 3 days after the kidnapping. Representatives from 47 different alien species gathered in the Great Hall on the neutral station of Harmony Prime. Helen had been humanity's voice in galactic politics for 5 years, but today, she felt the weight of her entire species on her shoulders. "Honored delegates," Helen began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. 3 days ago, an unknown alien faction called the Zephyrian Collective committed an act of war against humanity. They attacked a peaceful mining colony and kidnapped 23 human children. The reaction was immediate. Some aliens gasped in shock, others whispered among themselves, and a few looked confused. The peaceful Anthurians, who looked like tall blue trees with faces, were the first to speak. "Ambassador Price," said Councillor Veltar of the Anthurians, "surely you mean they took prisoners of war? Adults who were fighting?" "No, Councillor. Children. The youngest is 4 years old, the oldest is 16. They were taken specifically because they were children. The Zephyrians want to study them. Like animals in a laboratory." The chamber erupted in noise. Helen had to wait for the automatic translation systems to catch up, as dozens of species all started talking at once. The Anthurians were clearly horrified. Their own species treasured children above all else. But other species seemed less concerned. Representative Kexna of the Nexus Consortium, whose people looked like walking crystals, spoke in their cold, calculating voice. "Ambassador Price, different species have different customs regarding their young. Perhaps this is a misunderstanding." Helen felt her anger rising. "Representative Kexna, there is no misunderstanding. I have recordings of the Zephyrian commander's own words." She activated the chamber's main screen and played Zektar's conversation with Marcus Gray. The chamber fell silent as they listened to the Supreme Commander's dismissive words about human children being specimens and human emotion being a primitive weakness. When the recording ended, Helen looked around at all the alien faces. "The Zephyrians believe that caring for our children makes us weak. They think that love and family bonds are signs of an inferior species. They are wrong." Councillor Veltar spoke again, his tree-like branches shaking with emotion. "The Anthurian people stand with humanity. To harm children is the greatest crime possible. We offer our fleet to help rescue these young ones." But the response was mixed. The Nexus Consortium wanted to stay neutral for business reasons. The warlike Krex Empire seemed amused by human anger. The ancient observers said it was not their concern. Helen realized that humanity was going to face this crisis mostly alone. While the galaxy debated, the human response was growing larger Colonel Frank Davis was coordinating what the news was calling Operation Homecoming from military headquarters on Mars. Frank had never seen anything like the mobilization that was happening. "Sir, we have over 400 ships ready to join," the search reported his assistant. "Everything from military battleships to armed cargo haulers. People are volunteering faster than we can process them." Frank looked at the tactical display showing ships gathering from every human world. "What about civilian vessels?" "Cargo ship captains are welding weapons onto their hulls. Passenger liner crews are asking for combat training. Even the deep space miners are coming back to help. I've never seen anything like it, sir." The reason for the massive response was simple. Every human understood what had happened. It didn't matter if you had children or not, if you were young or old, if you lived on Earth or the farthest colony. Someone had taken human children, and that meant war. On the research station, Alex Carter was proving that the Zephyrians had badly underestimated human determination. Maya Johnson had successfully modified the educational tablet they had been given, and Alex was using it to map the station's layout and schedule. "The guards change every 6 hours," Alex whispered to the other children during their rest period. "They always use the same routes, and Maya figured out how to tap into their communication system." "What are they saying?" asked Katie Morrison, who had become Alex's second-in-command among the children. "Mostly boring stuff about station operations. But I heard something interesting. They're expecting more ships to arrive soon. Important ships with important aliens on them." Nick Adams, the oldest boy in the group, frowned. "What kind of important aliens?" "I think their leaders are coming to see us. To see their specimens in person." Alex's voice was hard with anger, but he kept it quiet so the guards wouldn't hear. "That's terrible," whispered Emma Clark, who was getting braver every day with Alex's help. "No, Emma. That's an opportunity." Alex looked around at all the other children. "When they're important, people come, they'll be distracted, focused on showing off their prizes. That's when we make our move." "What kind of move?" Maya asked. Alex held up the modified tablet. "Maya's been working on something special. Haven't you, Maya?" Maya grinned. "Despite their terrible situation, I figured out how to access the station's main communication array. Not just to send messages out, but to receive them too. If any human ships are looking for us, I can help them find us." Meanwhile, the Terra's Pride and the Silent Hunter had tracked the Zephyrian ships to a nebula 3 sectors away. The colorful gas clouds would hide the research station from most sensors, but Jake Morrison wasn't giving up. "Captain Torres, are you seeing this?" Jake asked over the communication link. "I see it, Morrison. Energy readings consistent with a large space station right in the middle of that nebula. Has to be them." Amanda Foster was studying the sensor readings carefully. "Captain, that station is huge. Much bigger than anything we've seen before. It's like a small city floating in space." Tony Rodriguez was running simulations on his pilot controls. "Getting in there won't be easy. The nebula will interfere with our sensors and communications. We'll be flying blind." Ryan Kelly spoke up from his security station. "Sir, even if we find the station, how do we get the children out? That place probably has hundreds of aliens defending it." Jake thought about his daughter Katie and the 22 other children counting on him. "We'll figure it out when we get there. Sam, what kind of special equipment does your ship have?" "The kind that can get us inside their defenses without being detected," Sam Torres replied. "But Morrison, once we start shooting, we better have backup coming fast." "How much backup are we talking about?" Sam's laugh was cold and dangerous. "According to my communications with Admiral Wells, every human ship in space is heading this way. The Zephyrians wanted to study human behavior. They're about to get a lesson they'll never forget." Back on the research station, Vorthak the Enlightened was preparing for the arrival of Supreme Commander Zektar himself. The commander was coming to inspect the human specimens personally, and Vorthak wanted everything to be perfect. "The specimens have shown interesting social bonding behaviors," Vorthak reported to his assistant. "The older ones protect and comfort the younger ones. They share resources equally. Most fascinating, they seem to be developing resistance strategies." "Resistance strategies, sir?" "Yes. They work together to comfort each other when one becomes distressed. They have established a leadership hierarchy with the older specimens caring for the younger ones, and they appear to be studying our routines and procedures. Should we separate them? Vorthak considered this. No. Their group behavior is exactly what we want to study. Let them continue. They are primitives with no real options for escape. Their attempts at resistance will provide valuable data about how inferior species react to superior control. What Vorthak didn't know was that Alex Carter had heard every word through Maya's hacked communication system. As soon as the alien scientist left, Alex gathered all the other children around him. Listen carefully, everyone. Their boss is coming to see us soon. They think we're just interesting animals putting on a show. They have no idea what we're really capable of. What are we capable of? Asked Emma, looking up at Alex with complete trust. Alex smiled, and for the first time since their capture, it was a real smile. We're human, Emma, and humans never give up on their families. Supreme Commander Zektar arrived at the research station with a fleet of 12 warships, confident that he was about to witness a great triumph of Zephyrian science. The massive alien leader stood nearly 8 feet tall, with ceremonial armor that marked his high rank. He had ruled the Zephyrian collective for 20 years and had never encountered a species that could challenge his people's superiority. Vorthak, he said as he toured the research station, show me these human specimens. I want to see what makes this primitive species so attached to their offspring. Vorthak led the Supreme Commander to the observation deck above the children's holding area. Through the one-way window, they could see all 23 human children. Alex Carter was sitting with little Emma Clark, helping her with a puzzle made from pieces of their meal containers. Katie Morrison and Maya Johnson were teaching some of the younger children a simple math game. Nick Adams was leading a group in quiet exercises to stay healthy. Fascinating, Zektar said, watching the children interact. They continue to care for each other even in captivity. Most species would fight among themselves for resources by now. Yes, Supreme Commander. Their social bonding appears to be instinctive rather than learned. Even under stress, they prioritize group welfare over individual survival. Zektar nodded approvingly. This confirms our theories about primitive emotional development. They cannot help themselves. Their weakness makes them predictable. What neither alien realized was that Maya Johnson had managed to activate a tiny camera hidden in the room's ventilation system. Alex had positioned it so that it could see the observation deck, and Maya was recording everything the alien said and did. Alex, Maya whispered, I'm getting a signal from outside the station. It's very weak, but it's definitely human. Alex felt his heart jump with excitement, but he kept his voice calm. Can you send a signal back? I think so. But I need to be very careful. If they detect it, they'll figure out what we've been doing. 3 hours away, Jake Morrison was staring at his communications screen in disbelief. Lisa Chang had just received the weakest, most broken signal she had ever detected, but the message was clear. Human children alive. Research station. Help us. How did they manage to send this? Jake asked Amanda Foster. Amanda was studying the signal's technical details. It's very clever, actually. Someone figured out how to use the station's own communication system against them. The signal is hidden inside normal station communications. Unless you knew exactly what to look for, you'd never find it. One of the children did this? Ryan Kelly asked in amazement. Has to be. The Zephyrians wouldn't send us their location. Jake felt a surge of pride mixed with his worry. His daughter and the other children weren't just surviving. They were fighting back. Sam Torres's voice came over the communication link from the Silent Hunter. Morrison, I'm reading massive energy signatures approaching the station. Looks like the Zephyrians brought reinforcements. How many ships? 12 warships, including one that's twice the size of anything else. My guess is their leader came to visit. Jake made his decision. Sam, we can't wait for Admiral Wells and the fleet. If their leader is here, they might move the children somewhere else. We have to act now. Morrison, that's suicide. 2 ships against a research station and 12 warships? Not 2 ships, Sam. Look at your long-range sensors. Sam checked his instruments and then whistled in surprise. Well, I'll be damned. Morrison, where did all these ships come from? Spread across the space behind them, human ships were emerging. From faster-than-light travel. Not just military vessels, but cargo ships, passenger liners, mining vessels, and even personal spacecraft. All armed, all angry, and all heading for the Zephyrian station. Every human who could get a ship into space came to help, Jake said simply. Sam, I think it's time to introduce the Zephyrians to human family values. On the research station, the first sign of trouble came when the station's alarm started blaring. Vorthak rushed to the command center where his technicians were staring at their screens in shock. Sir, we're detecting over 200 ships approaching our position. Human ships. Impossible, Zektar snarled. Humans don't have that many warships. Sir, most of them aren't warships. They appear to be civilian vessels that have been armed with military weapons. Zektar looked at the tactical display showing the approaching human fleet. Cargo ships, with missile launchers welded to their hulls, passenger liners bristling with energy weapons, mining ships carrying equipment that could cut through asteroids or enemy armor. Supreme Commander, Vorthak said nervously, perhaps we should consider returning the specimens. This response is far beyond what we calculated. No, Zektar roared. We are Zephyrians. We do not surrender to primitive species. Ready all defenses. Prepare to show these humans the price of challenging superior beings. But the humans weren't interested in a fair fight. Sam Torres's stealth ship had already penetrated the station's defenses and was cutting through the outer hull. Jake Morrison's Terra's Pride was leading a coordinated attack on the Zephyrian warships, supported by dozens of armed civilian vessels. Inside the research station, Alex Carter felt the vibrations of the human attack through the floor. Everyone, get ready, he told the other children. Our families are here. The station shook as explosions echoed through the corridors. Emergency lights started flashing, and alien voices could be heard shouting orders in panic. The children had practiced for this moment, and they moved quickly to their assigned positions. When the door to their holding area exploded inward, the children were ready. Ryan Kelly and his security team charged through the smoke, followed by engineering specialist Roy Baker and 3 other human soldiers. Katie! Jake Morrison's voice came over Ryan's radio. Katie, are you there? Dad! Katie shouted, tears streaming down her face as she ran toward the soldiers. Dad, we're all here, all 23 of us. But the rescue was just beginning. Zephyrian guards were rushing through the station's corridors, trying to stop the human boarding parties. The aliens had superior technology, but they had never faced humans fighting for their children. Alex Carter surprised everyone by stepping forward to talk to Ryan Kelly. Sir, I know the station's layout. Maya hacked their computer system. We can help you find the fastest way out. Ryan looked at the 12-year-old boy who had kept 22 other children safe and organized. Son, you and your friends have done amazing work. Now let us handle the fighting. With respect, sir, Alex said politely. We've been fighting them for 6 days. We're not stopping now. The battle for the research station became a running fight through corridors and chambers. The Zephyrians discovered that their superior technology meant nothing when human parents and children were working together with a common goal. Roy Baker used his engineering knowledge to disable the station's life support in the alien sections, while keeping it running where the humans were fighting. Maya Johnson guided the rescue teams through the station's computer systems, shutting down defensive weapons and opening doors that would help the humans advance. Even little Emma Clark helped by remembering which corridors the guards used most often. Supreme Commander Zektar found himself trapped in the command center as human soldiers fought their way closer. This is impossible, he said to Vorthak. They're just an emotional, primitive species. How are they defeating us? Vorthak was staring at the security monitors showing human children working alongside adult soldiers. Supreme Commander, I think we may have misunderstood something fundamental about human behavior. What do you mean? We assumed they're emotional. Attachment to offspring was a weakness. But look at what it has accomplished. They mobilized hundreds of ships, crossed hostile space, and are now fighting through our most secure facility, all to rescue 23 young. The last Zephyrian resistance collapsed when Alex Carter and Katie Morrison led Ryan Kelly's team directly to the command center. The two children had memorized the station's layout so well that they could guide the soldiers through routes the aliens never expected. When the command center doors opened, Zektar found himself face to face with Captain Jake Morrison, whose daughter was standing beside him with a proud smile on her face. "Supreme Commander," Jake said calmly, "I believe you have something that belongs to us." The rescue of the 23 human children sent shockwaves across the entire galaxy. Within hours, news reports were broadcasting on every civilized world, showing images of human civilian ships armed with whatever weapons they could find, all flying together to save their young. The footage of Alex Carter helping guide soldiers through the research station became one of the most watched videos in galactic history. All 23 children were safely returned to their families, though the experience had changed them. Dr. Amanda Foster and Counselor Grace Martin worked with each child to help them recover from their ordeal. The children had nightmares and moments of fear, but they also showed remarkable strength and resilience. They protected each other, Grace explained to the parents during a group meeting. Even in captivity, they created a family structure that kept them safe emotionally. Alex Carter, Maya Johnson, Katie Morrison, and Nick Adams especially showed leadership that helped the younger children cope. Jake Morrison hugged his daughter Katie tightly as she told him about their time on the station. "Dad, Alex made sure Emma never cried alone. Maya figured out how to spy on the aliens. We all took care of each other because that's what families do. And now you're all safe," Jake said, though he still woke up at night sometimes remembering how close he had come to losing her. The political consequences of the rescue were enormous. The Galactic Council convened an emergency tribunal to address the Zephyrian actions and the human response. Ambassador Helen Price stood before the assembled representatives with the evidence of what had happened. "Honored delegates," Helen said, "the Zephyrian collective committed crimes against children, but this attack was not just against humanity. It was an attack against the most basic values that civilized species should share." The evidence was overwhelming. Video recordings from the research station showed Zephyrian scientists treating human children like laboratory animals. The testimony of Vorthak the Enlightened, who had been captured during the rescue, confirmed that the Zephyrians saw child kidnapping as acceptable behavior when dealing with primitive species. Counselor Veltar of the Anthurians spoke for many species when he addressed the tribunal. "The protection of children is a universal principle. Any species that would harm the young of another people threatens all of our children. The Anthurian Republic formally condemns the Zephyrian collective and supports all sanctions against them." The vote was unanimous. 47 species condemned the Zephyrian actions. Trade sanctions, territorial restrictions, and diplomatic isolation were imposed immediately. But the real punishment came from within Zephyrian space itself. Many Zephyrian citizens had been horrified when they learned what their government had done. Videos of human children being held prisoner, while their families desperately searched for them, sparked protests across Zephyrian worlds. The idea that superior beings would target children seemed cruel and dishonorable even to many Zephyrians. "Our leaders told us we were studying primitive emotional responses," said Kexlan the Questioner, a Zephyrian scientist who led the rebellion against Supreme Commander Zektar. "They did not tell us we were torturing children while their parents searched the galaxy for them." The Zephyrian collective collapsed within months. Zektar was overthrown by his own people and turned over to galactic authorities. Vorthak and the other researchers involved in the kidnapping faced trial for crimes against sentient beings. The Zephyrian worlds split into smaller, independent governments that sought to rebuild their relationships with the galaxy. But the most important change was in how other species viewed humanity. Before the rescue, humans had been seen as newcomers to galactic civilization, interesting but not particularly powerful or important. After seeing the response to the kidnapping, every alien government understood that humans were dangerous enemies and valuable allies. They mobilized their entire species to save 23 children, reported Ambassador Karvek of the hegemony to his government. Military ships, civilian vessels, cargo haulers, even personal spacecraft, all armed and ready for war. This is not a species that can be safely ignored or dismissed. The rescue led to the creation of the Kepler Accords, a galactic treaty that established universal protections for children of all species. Ambassador Helen Price worked with representatives from 30 species to write laws that would prevent future kidnappings like the one the Zephyrians had attempted. Today we declare that the children of any species are under the protection of all civilized worlds, Helen announced as the treaty was signed. Attack the young of one people, and you face the anger of every decent being in the galaxy. Admiral Patricia Wells found herself commanding not just human forces, but alliance fleets that included ships from a dozen different species. The galaxy learned something important about human nature, she told her officers. When our children are threatened, we don't just fight. We unite every friend we have and turn the entire galaxy into our weapon. The children themselves became symbols of hope and resilience. Alex Carter received the Galactic Medal of Courage for his leadership during the captivity. Maya Johnson was invited to study advanced computer systems with the best teachers from multiple species. All 23 children were offered scholarships and opportunities that would help them grow into leaders. Alex stood with his parents at a ceremony honoring all the rescued children. Reporters from across the galaxy wanted to know how a 12-year-old boy had managed to keep 22 other children safe and organized during such a terrible experience. We just remembered what our parents taught us, Alex said simply. Take care of each other, never give up, and families always come for their children. Emma Clark, now 7 years old and much braver than before, added her own thoughts. The scary aliens thought we would be weak because we love each other, but love makes us strong. Love makes our families come save us even from space monsters. Captain Jake Morrison returned to active duty, but his experience had changed him. He was promoted to admiral and put in charge of a new program to protect human colonies and ensure that no other children would face what Katie and her friends had endured. The Zephyrians made a fundamental mistake, Jake explained to his new staff. They thought that caring about our children was a weakness. They learned too late that it's actually our greatest strength. Sam Torres was offered a promotion to command his own battle group, but he chose to continue his work with special operations. There are still dangerous people out there, he told Admiral Wells. Someone needs to make sure they understand the ISO price of threatening innocent lives. The research station where the children had been held was converted into a memorial and museum. Visitors from hundreds of worlds came to see the exhibits about human determination and the power of family bonds. The room where the children had been imprisoned was preserved exactly as it was, showing how they had organized themselves and cared for each other. Years later, when Alex Carter graduated from the Galactic Academy and became a diplomat himself, he would tell the story of those 6 days on the research station to new classes of students from many different species. The aliens who took us thought they were studying primitive behavior, Alex would say. But they learned something they never expected. They learned that love isn't a weakness. It's the force that can move entire civilizations. They learned that when you threaten human children, you don't face just parents or soldiers or governments. You face every human being who understands what family means. And most importantly, Alex would conclude, looking out at alien students who had come to learn about human nature, they learned that human families never give up on each other. No matter how far we have to travel, no matter how dangerous the enemy, no matter how impossible the odds, we always come for our children. The rescue of 23 human children had changed the galaxy forever, proving that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from superior technology or military might, but from the simple, powerful bond between those who love each other and will never let each other go.